The Ghost That Cries in the Night. In the small, secluded town of Hollowbrook, nestled deep within the mist-shrouded forest, a ghostly legend whispered through the ears of its residents a tale that sent shivers down their spines. It was said that every night, as the clock struck 12, a ghostly figure would appear, crying mournfully under the ancient willow tree at the edge of the cemetery. The townsfolk believed that this spectre was the restless soul of Amelia Hartley, a young woman who had perished under mysterious circumstances many years ago. The haunting cries echoed through the stillness of the night, striking fear into the hearts of all who heard them. One moonlit night, a curious traveler named Daniel arrived in Hollowbrook, drawn by the enigmatic tales that swelled through the air. Unfazed by the warnings of the locals, he resolved to witness the ghostly spectacle for himself. With a lantern in hand and a heart pounding with anticipation, he made his way to the cemetery. As midnight approached, a chill wind blew through the graveyard, stirring the fallen leaves and heightening the eeriness of the atmosphere. Daniel's breath caught in his throat as he spotted the silhouette of the willow tree in the distance, its twisted branches reaching out like gnarled fingers. Under the pale glow of the moon, the ghost materialized before Daniel's eyes, a translucent figure draped in tattered garments, her face etched with sorrow and despair. Her hollow eyes seemed to pierce through his soul, as she let out a blood-curdling wail that sent shivers down his spine. Driven by a mixture of fear and intrigue, Daniel slowly approached the weeping spirit, his heart pounding against his ribcage. With each step, the cries grew louder and more agonizing. As he neared, the ghost's wails turned into a haunting melody, a mournful song that echoed through the night, weaving a web of sorrow around Daniel's senses. Unable to resist the allure of the haunting music, he found himself entranced, his body moving involuntarily to its rhythm. The ghostly figure beckoned him to follow, gliding effortlessly through the cemetery's gates and into the depths of the woods. The forest transformed into an otherworldly realm, a labyrinth of twisted trees and dense fog. Daniel stumbled through the undergrowth, his senses dulled by the ghostly enchantment. The air grew colder, and the once familiar path vanished, leaving him lost in the heart of the spectral maze. Whispers surrounded him, voices of the forgotten souls who had met their untimely demise. Shadows danced around him, their ethereal forms shifting and contorting in a macabre ballet. A sense of foreboding filled the air, as if the very essence of the forest was alive with malevolence. Suddenly, the ghostly cries ceased, replaced by an unnerving silence. Daniel's heart raced, for he knew that something sinister lurked nearby. In the distance, he spotted a dilapidated cabin, its windows shattered and its doors hanging off their hinges. A flickering candlelight danced within, casting eerie shadows on the decaying walls. Summoning his courage, Daniel entered the cabin, the creaking floorboards announcing his arrival. The air was thick with a putrid stench, and his eyes stung from the pungent decay. As he ventured deeper into the cabin's gloom, he discovered a forgotten journal, its pages yellowed with age. With trembling hands, Daniel began to read the diary's entries, a chilling chronicle of Amelia Hartley's life. She had been wronged by her lover, betrayed and abandoned in the very woods that now held her restless spirit. Her sorrow turned to rage, her grief manifesting as the haunting cries that echoed through Hollowbrook each night. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew through the cabin, extinguishing the lone candle. Darkness enveloped Daniel, and a cold breath brushed against his neck. He could feel the presence of the vengeful spirit closing in, her wails growing louder and more desperate. Desperate to escape, Daniel fumbled his way toward the cabin's exit, but the spectral force seemed to toy with him, the walls shifting and the path twisting in a cruel game of cat and mouse. Panic seized his heart as he stumbled and fell, the ghostly figure closing in with each passing moment. Just as all hope seemed lost, Daniel spotted a sliver of moonlight seeping through a crack in the cabin's decaying roof. Summoning his last reserves of strength, he lunged toward the light, crashing through the rotted wood and into the open air. Gasping for breath, he found himself outside the cemetery gates, the night sky filled with stars. The cries of the ghost faded into the distance, leaving only the sound of his own racing heartbeat. The ordeal had ended, but the memory of the ghostly encounter would forever haunt his dreams. As Daniel thought his ordeal had come to an end, he soon realized that the horror was far from over. Night after night, he was plagued by relentless nightmares, his sleep haunted by the ghostly figure and her piercing cries. The line between dreams and reality blurred, and he found himself waking in a cold sweat, unsure if he had truly escaped Hollowbrook's grip. In his waking hours, a sense of dread consumed Daniel. Shadows danced at the corners of his vision, and the air around him felt heavy with an unseen presence. The once familiar streets of Hollowbrook transformed into a labyrinth of twisted alleys and eerie silence. Every passing hour felt like an eternity, as the ghost's mournful wails echoed through his mind, a constant reminder of the horror he had witnessed. One moonlit night, as Daniel lay awake, tormented by insomnia, he heard a soft scratching sound coming from outside his window. He cautiously approached, his heart pounding with anticipation and fear. Peering through the curtains, he saw a ghostly figure, illuminated by the pale moonlight, tracing its bony fingers along the glass, leaving frosty trails in its wake. Daniel's blood ran cold as he recognized the face of Amelia Hartley, the ghost that cried in the night. Her eyes bore into his soul, filled with a mixture of longing and malice. Without warning, the glass shattered, and icy tendrils crept into the room, snaking their way toward him. He stumbled backward, desperate to escape the ghost's icy grasp. In a desperate attempt to break free from the clutches of Hollowbrook's haunting curse, Daniel sought the help of an old woman rumored to possess knowledge of the supernatural. The woman lived on the outskirts of town, in a dilapidated cottage shrouded in mystery and shadow. The cottage's interior matched its exterior, with dusty shelves lined with ancient tomes and jars containing unidentifiable objects. The air was thick with the scent of herbs and incense, an eerie atmosphere that sent shivers down Daniel's spine. The old woman emerged from the darkness, her eyes twinkling with otherworldly wisdom. She spoke in hushed whispers, recounting tales of Hollowbrook's dark history, a tale of betrayal, revenge, and souls forever trapped in the ethereal realm. To break the curse that bound Daniel, the old woman revealed that a sacrifice must be made of blood, offering to appease the restless spirit. Fear gripped Daniel's heart, but he knew he had no other choice if he wished to reclaim his sanity and find peace. With a trembling hand, he made the grim decision to confront the ghost once more, armed with the knowledge that breaking the curse would come at a great cost. Under the cover of darkness, Daniel returned to the cemetery, clutching a knife tightly in his hand. The ghostly figure materialized before him, her eyes filled with both sorrow and anticipation. The wails that once held him captive now seemed to beckon him, guiding his every step toward the ancient willow tree. With a heavy heart, Daniel knelt before the ghost, offering his own blood as a sacrifice. As the first drop fell, a mixture of anguish and relief washed over him. The ghost's cries transformed into a haunting melody, harmonizing with the whispers of the wind and the rustling leaves. Suddenly, a blinding light enveloped the cemetery, illuminating every corner of the desolate grounds. The ghost's form flickered and waned until she faded into nothingness, her mournful cries silenced forever. Daniel collapsed to his knees, physically and emotionally drained. The curse that had haunted him for so long was finally broken. As he walked away from the cemetery, a sense of peace settled upon him, and the town of Hollowbrook seemed to exhale a collective sigh of relief. Though the ghost that cried in the night had found her release, Hollowbrook would forever bear the scars of its haunted past. The tales of Amelia Hartley's restless spirit would echo through generations, a reminder that some horrors can never truly be forgotten. But for Daniel, the nightmares ceased, and he could finally find solace in the silence of the night. The ghostly cries had become but a distant memory, a chilling reminder of the darkness he had faced and conquered.